Hey, this is Doug. Today I'm going to do a quick video for you guys on how to set up and use user-defined macros in Sublime Text. It's actually super easy and very useful. So first I'm just going to show you guys how to create a new macro. So to do that, the first step we want to do is we want to go up here to Tools, and we want to select Record Macro. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and it's going to record whatever we type. So I'm going to create a macro for a standard for loop. Okay, so now that I have that typed out, I'm going to go back up to Tools, and I'm going to select Stop Recording Macro. And now I'm going to delete the code we just wrote, and to test out the macro we just recorded, we can go to Tools and Playback Macro. Cool, so our for loop looks good. Looks like the macro is working how we want it to. So if we wanted to save this macro for later use, we can go up to Tools, Save Macro. We want to save it in the user folder, and we can give it any name we want. It just needs to have the extension here of .sublime-macro. So we could call this something like for with semicolons, or just for loop. I'm not going to save it. I'm going to click cancel since I've already saved this macro. But if you wanted to save it, that's how you would do so. I'm going to delete this. And now I'm going to go ahead and go to Tools, and to recall a macro that you've saved, we can go into Macros, User. There are several default ones in here as well, but we can go to the user-defined ones and choose our for with semicolons loop. Boom, and there's our macro pasted onto the page. The really nice benefit of this is the time savings. It takes about 15 seconds to type out this for loop as opposed to 4 or 5 seconds to just paste it in. It also avoids syntax errors since you can type a construct once, make sure the syntax is correct, and then just recall the macro when you want to use that sort of construct. So yeah, there's some nice benefits to using macros. And next, I'm going to show you guys a couple of little tricks that we can use with macros as well to make them more useful and sort of just ways to interact with them. So I've created one other macro here that is a pseudoclassical subclass pattern. So if we go to Tools, Macros, User, and choose pseudoclassical subclass, boom, we get a typed out basic layout of a pseudoclassical subclass. Now, when you paste this into your code, you're not generally the name of your subclass is you're not going to want it to be called a class type, and also the parent of it is generally not going to be called parent, like here on line 9. So the way that we can change that after we've used our macro is once we've pasted our macro in, we can use Command-Alt-F command on Mac to bring up the Find and Replace menu here down at the bottom. And then if we highlight our new class that we created, we can type in for find what, we can type in class type, replace it with, let's say our new class is going to be a superhero. So we will do a replace all there. And then we could also do the same thing for parent. Here, since parent is just found in one spot on line 9, a find is not really necessary. We can just manually replace that with the correct class name of our superclass, which will be hero in this instance. Yeah, so that's all there is to it. Just when you use the macro, sometimes you're going to have to modify a few lines or a few pieces of it to fit in with your code. And then one last tip that I wanted to show you guys that I think is really cool is we can create a macro for, say, example, a console log, but we can do it in such a way that when we recall the macro, our cursor is going to be in a spot where we will be able to immediately start typing what we're logging. So this will make more sense once I type it out. So let me show you guys what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead up to Tools, and I'm going to select Record Macro again and make a new macro. And let's do a console log, some sort of string, comma, and then we will put our semicolon, and then if we arrow back 2 spots inside of that parenthesis before we stop recording our macro, now when we recall that macro, we should get this line here to output, and our cursor should be inside of that, at that parenthesis, exactly where we will want to enter a variable or some sort of other value that we want to log out. So let's try that. Let's go playback macro. Awesome, it works. So we've just created a console log macro that saves us a lot of typing and allows us to very quickly generate a console log for debugging, where we can then put in some variable name that we want to log out, right? Cool. So I'm actually going to go ahead and save that macro since I don't have that one yet. I'll just call it console log for now and save. Cool. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. You can also increase the speed of using macros even more by, once you create them, binding them to keystrokes, key combinations. The way to do that involves some configuration of some settings files for Sublime, some text files, and I'm not going to cover that in this video, but I will make another video with how to do that, and I will link to it in the description of this video once it's created. Thanks for watching.